With the decade coming to a close, comic book fans and movie fans alike will look back on these 10 years as a revolution for the comic book film. The decade was full of excellent stories, action, emotion, and world building. It was truly a special time to be a fan, even more than the previous decade with its renaissance. It is now time to list the best of the comic book movies released over the decade. Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to the channel. I'm Ryan Ramakrishnan, and I'm super excited to talk all about comic book movies, particularly the best ones of this past decade. It really has been an exciting 10 years, and listing, let alone ranking my favorites, was very challenging. But in the end, I did it. I made a list. Here it is, guys, what I believe are the best 10 comic book movies of the decade. These are my favorites of the 2010s.
Manners maketh man. Do you know what that means? Then let me teach you a lesson.
Kingsman: The Secret Service is a film that I never thought about putting on this list. Not originally, but I instantly remembered how good it was when I was researching all of the comic book movies that released over the decade. It stars Taron Egerton and Colin Firth, and the two actors really shine. I mean, they do such a fantastic job in their roles, probably particularly Colin Firth. I had such a blast following Eggsy's induction into the world of the Kingsman. The concept is very cool, and I really love a good spy film and a good action film. I felt like Kingsman: The Secret Service perfectly blended the tropes of the two, and Matthew Vaughn added a ton of charm in the direction. I had so much fun with the film, whether it was for the action or the witty dialogue and personas of our characters. Samuel L. Jackson also naturally included. Moments like the incredible church scene or the pub scene come to mind. The former has such awesome camera work.
I can't watch this. Get over here.
It is just a really interesting film to watch in terms of how it is shot. Kingsman is a fascinating introduction to a comic that I've never heard of prior. It is overall a super fun movie and one that started a film franchise of awesome films about spies and gentlemen, and I really do enjoy them.
X gon' give it to you. Wait for you to get it on your own. X gon' deliver to you. Go get some.
You gonna do superhero landing? Wait for it. Woo! Superhero landing.
Yeah, that's really hard on your knees.
Totally impractical. They all do it. You're a lovely lady, but I'm saving myself for Francis.
Deadpool set the world on fire when it hit theaters in 2016. Ryan Reynolds finally got his chance to actually be Wade Wilson in a way that X-Men Origins failed to let him do so. It made us laugh hysterically, and it really did change superhero movies. The R rating was so fitting in every way for the merc with a mouth, as was that casting of Ryan Reynolds. He brilliantly portrayed the foul-mouthed anti-hero. Wade and Vanessa had a surprisingly interesting romance. Music was used very effectively, making for some very memorable scenes just because of the soundtrack. There was plenty of blood and violence. It was very action-packed, and the movie and the cast laughed at themselves, us, and everyone around them, as fourth wall breaking actually succeeded.
When it comes time to licking wounds, there's no place like home. And I share that home with someone you've met. The old blind lady from the laundromat, Al.
God, I miss cocaine.
Her. Fourth wall break inside a fourth wall break. That's like 16 walls.
The jokes were really great, and the movie was overall just a pure joy to really watch. It was something very fresh for the comic book movies, and an endlessly entertaining film that is definitely really rewatchable.
Drop it. Now.
Yeah, hey, cool, man. No problem. No problem at all.
Who are you?
Star-Lord.
Who?
Well, Star-Lord, man. Legendary outlaw.
Guardians of the Galaxy was a true game changer for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Prior to the 2014 film, the characters were relatively obscure. In the same way that Robert Downey Jr. brought Iron Man to relevance in 2008, a star-studded cast, including the likes of Zoe Saldana, Chris Pratt, and Dave Bautista, brought some of the best characters to the big screen, and these characters would go on to become mainstream classics. Guardians of the Galaxy proved to be one of the best films in the franchise of the MCU. I personally find it immensely rewatchable. Whenever it is on TV, I love to sit back and watch it and laugh and enjoy all of the iconic moments. The comedy is great, it always lands. I found myself laughing all the time, and the cast is full of great actors and actresses, and their writing makes it all the better. Guardians also brilliantly uses one of the best soundtracks, with hit after hit, and it just makes the movie all the better.
Hooked on a feeling. Blue Swede, 1973, that song belongs to me.
Hooked on a feeling. I'm high on believing that you're in love with me.
There's fun action, there's a lot of cool places to visit, which really helped open the door for space and cosmic settings in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It was overall a delightfully fun movie, very comical, very entertaining, and it made Guardians of the Galaxy one of my favorites of the decade.
Use your power. Bring the X-Men together.
It's going to take the two of us, side by side at a time when we couldn't be further apart.
After Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix, it is easy to forget about the great First Class and Days of Future Past. The latter is easily one of my favorite comic book movies this decade for a multitude of reasons. X-Men director Bryan Singer returns, and his goal of rewriting the timeline really worked to an advantage. The film shows some dramatic deaths in the bleak future, but by the end, spoiler alert, the timeline changes and everyone's back. It was such a crazy ending, one I never expected in an X-Men film at the time, one of the most awesome endings I've seen in a comic book movie at that time.
I think the history I know is a little different.
Welcome back.
It's good to see you, Charles. It's good to see everyone.
Well, I had a promise to keep.
And the whole entire journey from when Wolverine was decided to be the one to go back in time to the end when the mission was accomplished, I was very entertained. The film tells a convoluted story, but it really does work. The way it is delivered is super fun, but it's also tense. The stakes were very high, and Wolverine really did have a mission. Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy as a young Eric and Charles respectively are absolutely incredible, as are basically everybody else, including the icons of Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart returning again. Days of Future Past has plenty of memorable scenes, of course, like that Quicksilver scene, and the film is overall a real experience. I think that Days of Future Past is one of the best to come out of the genre, definitely one of the best X-Men movies we've gotten.
Most of the intelligence community doesn't believe he exists. The ones that do call him the Winter Soldier. He's a ghost. You'll never find him.
In the build-up to watching The Winter Soldier, fans, myself included, had no idea how awesome this Captain America sequel was going to be. The Winter Soldier is decidedly a spy thriller, as opposed to a conventional superhero movie, and that worked 100% in its favor. This was the first MCU film under Anthony and Joe Russo. With this film, they quickly proved themselves worthy of their responsibilities to come. The Winter Soldier had fantastic pacing, writing, action, and tone. It was a very thrilling adventure the entire way through, as we watched Hydra infiltrate and take over S.H.I.E.L.D. We saw Nick Fury get overstepped.
Get me off the grid.
Calculating route to secure location.
Black Widow and Captain America alike were in their prime fighting and effectively being spies. And Steve Rogers had to face the biggest threat yet in dealing with his best friend, Bucky Barnes, now the Winter Soldier. Every time the Winter Soldier would show up, things got intense. It was the iconic elevator scene. Zola was alive in a computer, and the Falcon basically became a new proud member of the Avengers. The Winter Soldier basically just did everything right. It really set up a lot of things for the future of the MCU, and it was, simply put, an incredibly well shot, written, acted, and made film.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
Hey, so I was gonna make this just one video. I figured I'd be able to cover my top 10 comic book movies of the decade in one video, and then I realized that we're at about 10 minutes so far, and I've only gotten to number 6. I really like these movies a whole lot, and I have a lot to say about them. So I figured I don't want this video to be super long. We're gonna go into part 2, and there I will cover number 5 through 1. Now, before I go, here's a few honorable mentions for you guys.
You have bullet immunity!
I'm bulletproof.
You're dead.
Sorry about your window, but you're welcome for not getting robbed. Oh, hey, what's up? I'm a superhero.
I want you to understand. I'll do anything to protect my family. I know you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, you think darkness is your ally? You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it, molded by it. I didn't see the light until I was already a man. By then it was nothing to me but blinding.
Okay, so yeah, those honorable mentions obviously didn't make the cut, but there are so many comic book movies that released this decade. You will see my top 5 in the next video, probably with like 3 more honorable mentions. Like I said, I just didn't want this video to be incredibly long, so I had to cut it into 2. So thanks for watching, guys. Please consider hitting that subscribe button and ringing the bell while you're there so you guys can stay up to date for all the other uploads, including part 2. If you guys are interested and want to see some more content from me, I appreciate you guys coming to join me, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts on your favorite superhero movies of the last 10 years. Thanks again for watching, guys. I'll see you all in the next video.